Before an American pilot straps into a real fighter, what is the first military aircraft they are allowed to fly? Every one of them flies the same one, and has for more than 25 years. It has a propeller on the front. That should be the wrong answer. Every cockpit those pilots are heading for is a jet. The F-22, the F-35, the B-2. The aircraft is the Beechcraft T-6 Texan II, and the strangeness starts at the throttle. Open it on any propeller aircraft with 1,000 horsepower on the nose, and the airframe swings left, as it has since the first military aircraft was built. The correction has never changed. Right rudder and hold it. Do it in the T6, and the nose stays where you put it. That is not aerodynamics being generous. It is a patented system, and the Air Force paid for it on purpose. Whatever this machine is doing to the pilots who pass through it, it is doing to the entire force. We are not going to tell you the T6 is a great trainer. We are going to take it apart 3 ways: how it flies, what it does to the pilot inside it, and what it costs to find out that pilot should not be here. Not one of those answers is what a propeller is supposed to give, and pulling a machine open like that is what classified Decoded does. Subscribe. The sky is not empty. It is a battlefield with rules written in physics. There is an aircraft before this one. Officer candidates without a civilian license spend 6 to 8 weeks learning to solo a DA-20 Katana. But the Katana is a filter, and it is a filter for a reason that is purely financial. It is cheaper to discover that a candidate cannot handle an aircraft in a light civilian trainer than to discover it in a machine with an ejection seat under him. The T6 is where the military part starts: an ejection seat, a pressurized cabin, an oxygen mask fed by the engine, an anti-G system, a structure cleared to +7 and -3.5, and a single power lever arranged the way a jet arranges it. None of that exists in civil aviation. Everything before this was flying. This is the first cockpit where the machine can throw you out of itself, and where the aircraft can pull harder than your circulatory system can follow. It is also where a specific danger becomes possible. Training science has a name for the worst case: negative transfer, a skill acquired on one machine that is not merely useless on the next, but actively degrades performance on it. That makes for an unusual adversary. It does not attack the aircraft, it attacks the nervous system of the person flying it. It takes hundreds of hours to form. It is invisible on every check ride because a pilot carrying it will pass, and it surfaces only in the moment a human being stops thinking and starts reacting. No instructor pulls it back out once it is set. So the question narrows into something an engineer can build against. 3 problems face anyone who has to put a future jet pilot on a propeller: the way the airframe itself behaves, the physiological envelope no civilian aircraft ever enters, and the price of finding out that this particular human being should not be here. The T6 answers all 3. Every answer costs something. Flying like a jet is not a feeling. It is 3 measurable behaviors. And a light propeller aircraft fails all 3. A throttle that produces thrust and nothing else, energy shed with drag instead of power, and an airframe that sinks when you stop paying for lift instead of floating down the runway, forgiving you. The T6 reproduces all 3, and each one had to be bought separately. Start with the throttle, because that is where the propeller argues hardest. A spinning disc on the nose does not just pull the aircraft forward. Through torque, through slipstream, through 2 more effects behind them, it drags the nose sideways, and every one of those effects pushes the same way. Bolt a 4-bladed Hartzell to the nose, feed it 1,100 horsepower from a Pratt & Whitney PT6 A68, and this is what you get. On the ground, it costs a bootful of right rudder. In the air, it is worse. At low speed and high power, the airflow can lose to the propeller's own rolling moment, and the aircraft rolls into an inverted spin with the engine still driving it. So a computer was handed the problem. The trim aid device reads airspeed, torque, and the aircraft's pitch many times a second, and works the rudder trim to cancel the yaw before the pilot feels it. Raytheon patented it, and it holds through aerobatics. Advance the throttle now and the nose stays put. First behavior purchased. The second is how energy leaves, and the difference between a jet and a propeller here is not thrust but response time. A jet engine spools slowly, so a jet cannot use its throttle for fast energy changes. It sets power and trims with drag. A propeller answers instantly, so the obvious move is the throttle. The T-6 refuses to allow it. A speed brake under the belly, and a single power lever, where a civilian cockpit of this class has 3, force energy to be managed the jet's way behind an engine that never required it. The third behavior is in the wing. It carries a wing loading roughly 2.5 times the light trainer it came from, and what that costs is ground effect. The T-37 jet it replaced could float down the runway on that cushion. The T-6 cannot. Pull the power to idle on final and it sinks. It wants power carried into the flare and it lands fast. The gentle propeller turns out to be less forgiving on touchdown than the jet it replaced. One place gives the game away. In a touch and go, the throttle slams from idle to full and torque arrives instantly down a shaft with no inertia, faster than a mechanical trim tab can travel. Pilots call the aircraft squirrely in that moment. It is where the specification runs out. The trim aid device biases a tab. It does not fly the aircraft, and inside that band, the airframe becomes exactly what it is. 1,100 horsepower turning a 97-inch disc with nothing fast enough to hide it. To get those 3 behaviors out of a propeller, the design trades away the machine's own honesty and pays for it in a computer, a servo, a belly plate, an undersized wing, and a failure that shows up exactly when the throttle moves fastest. All 3 are about what the aircraft does. The next problem is about what it is permitted to do to the person strapped inside it. Plus 7G. At that load, blood weighs 7 times what it should. The heart cannot generate the pressure to lift it to the brain. Color goes first, then peripheral vision, then consciousness. The T-6 carries an anti-G system that inflates the flight suit to keep blood out of the legs. This is where the problem stops being aerodynamic and becomes physiological. The airframe can pull harder than the circulatory system tracks, and the difference has to be carried by a garment and by muscle. Then there is the seat. A Martin Baker Mark 16 LA certified 00, which means it works at 0 airspeed and 0 altitude, sitting still on the ground. The canopy is not opened. It is fractured by an explosive cord a fraction of a second before the rocket motor moves the seat. Every aircraft before this one had a door. This one has a decision, and the decision has a clock on it. That capability has a price, and it has been paid. On the 13th of May, 2024, at Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas, Captain John Robertson of the 80th Operations Support Squadron died when the ejection handle activated while the aircraft was taxiing. The investigation found that the seat's safety pin had most likely not been fully seated after landing, and that his straps were tangled. The seat performed as designed. It put him roughly 100 feet into the air. A system fast enough to save a life at 0 altitude is, by definition, fast enough to be unforgiving of a pin left half-seated. That is not a flaw in the seat. That is the same physics, read from the other side. In July 2022, after a possible defect turned up in the cartridge-actuated devices inside those seats, 19th Air Force stopped flying 76 T-6As and 203 T-38s while the fleet was inspected. Breathing is machine-mediated here too. Instead of carrying liquid oxygen, an onboard oxygen generation system, OBOGS, pulls it straight from the engine's bleed air, which removes servicing between flights and converts directly into more sorties per airframe per day. The cabin is pressurized, but at the low differential a tactical aircraft uses, near the 31,000-foot ceiling, the mask stays on for the whole flight. That system spent close to a decade as the aircraft's weakest point, with crews reporting hypoxia-type events. The response came in 2 parts: tightened maintenance and inspection procedures, which on their own cut the incident rate by 82%, and then a next-generation OBOGS fitted across the fleet and completed in the middle of 2024. To put a 22-year-old inside a genuine military envelope, the design trades away the forgiveness of a civilian aircraft and pays with a machine capable of injuring the person inside it while standing still. Both answers cost money: a computer in the tail, a seat with a rocket motor under it, an oxygen plant running off engine bleed air. Which raises the question the Air Force has to answer every single year. Why does an airframe carrying all of that also have to be the cheapest thing on the ramp? Estimated cost per flying hour, drawn from Air Force figures. The T-6 runs around $2,235, and the T-38 that follows it runs around $9,355. Read the ratio rather than either number. The same aerobatic sortie, the same formation ride, costs roughly 4 times as much the moment it moves onto the jet. That ratio is a sorting mechanism. The Air Force does not need the T-6 to be cheap in order to save money on fuel. It needs the T-6 to be cheap in order to make failure affordable. Because this is the cockpit where the service finds out who cannot do this. This is also where careers divide. Coming off the T-6, the road to a fighter cockpit runs through the T-38 Talon, with the T-7A Red Hawk arriving to replace it. The other tracks branch away toward transports, tankers, and helicopters. At Shepherd Air Force Base, the Euro-NATO joint program does something no other pipeline does. Every graduate goes to the fighter and bomber track, 100%. And the reform that swept through undergraduate pilot training moved something more fundamental than a syllabus. Wings are now awarded at the end of the T-6 phase, instead of 4 to 6 months later at the end of the jet. Read that change carefully because it moved the finish line. The wings used to be awarded after the jet. Now they are awarded after the propeller. To make washing out cheap, the Air Force accepts a trainer that costs a fraction of the fighter it feeds, and then spends serious engineering money making that cheap airframe behave like the expensive one anyway. 3 answers, 3 different departments, 3 different budgets. They only become one argument when you notice what all 3 of them are actually protecting. A simulator now reproduces almost any aircraft at almost no cost. So why does the T-6 still have to exist in metal? A simulator reproduces information: the view, the instruments, the procedures, the emergencies. What it cannot reproduce is consequence. The ejection handle in the front cockpit is real in a way no display will ever be, as a Texas taxiway already proved. A simulator trains the part of a pilot that thinks. The T-6 trains the part that will still be working after thinking has run out of time. Now the 3 behaviors read differently. The trim aid device does not exist so the aircraft flies straight. A right foot already does that. It exists so that foot never repeats enough times to reach the spinal cord. The wing deletes ground effect, the one cushion in aviation that ever forgave sloppy energy. And the speed brake hands over the jet's technique, energy bled with drag, long before a jet would force it. Not one of the 3 is an aerodynamic fix. All 3 are aimed at the same nervous system, which is the whole trick. The trim aid device is not a feature. It is a training specification cast in hardware. The Air Force did not buy a better propeller aircraft. It bought a machine under standing orders to conceal its own physics, because the truth about that physics installs something no jet cockpit will forgive. The same logic runs through the rest of the airframe. The seat makes leaving an aircraft automatic before the dangerous one arrives. The mask makes machine-fed breathing ordinary before it becomes survival. The cost keeps the discovery of the wrong pilot early and cheap, far from anything worth $80 million. None of it is about this aircraft. Every piece is about the aircraft the student has not met yet. The T-6 is the only machine in the inventory designed backwards. From a cockpit it will never enter. That architecture carries one structural weakness. Everyone goes through the same door. Mission-capable rates across the T-6 fleet have fallen to roughly 54%, down nearly 10 points in a single year. On any other aircraft, that is a maintenance statistic. On this one, it is a national ceiling on pilot production, which is why the Air Force is weighing whether to move part of the syllabus onto the T-7A when it arrives, and why the fleet is being refitted with simulated weapons and electronic warfare it will never carry. The syllabus is pushed downward one more time because the aircraft waiting at the end of the pipeline has stopped being something a pilot flies and started being something a pilot manages. Reading a machine for what it is built to do, not what it looks like. That is the whole job here at Classified Decoded. Subscribe, and the next teardown finds you. We don't worship the machine, we chase the logic bolted underneath it. And the logic underneath this one leaves a question on the table, one that is not really about aircraft. When you build a training system, you can optimize it for the skill the student is meant to acquire, or against the habit the student is at risk of acquiring. The first is visible: a syllabus, a check ride, a graduation ceremony. The second is invisible for years, and then it surfaces once, at 400 knots, in the half-second before anyone has time to think. The Air Force looked at that trade and spent engineering money making a propeller lie about itself. Ask yourself which of those two problems your own field is actually solving, and which one it has simply never measured.